wanted to take a little bit of time and talk to you guys about how I got into the business and, how, the business has changed externally and also changed within my life and the things that it's done. Um, First and foremost, my personality is such that I'm kind of a workaholic. I I enjoy getting. I've always had more than one job. It just since I was probably old enough to work, I've always worked several jobs. So it wasn't like this was something that was foreign to me or whatever. I was working a full time job and I needed something to augment my income, and this kind of popped up. And the way that it popped up was I was in charge of we were doing a festival for the small city that I was working for, and they put me in charge of the kids' play area. And I contacted, the first company that I came across to rent some stuff to entertain the kids, and I saw how much it cost, and I was like, "Whoa, that was back then it was we probably got 5 pieces, and this had to be early 2000, 2001, 2002, something like that. Um, so, yeah, and we got 5 pieces, and it was over $3,000 back then. So I was like, this is crazy. What I didn't realize is that the people at the time were charging me kind of an exorbitant surcharge for travel because I had booked them out of South Georgia, and they were coming to the metro area to do our event. But anyway, I saw it and I started doing my research on what it would take. And from there, I went to work for an inflatable company for a couple of years because I wanted to learn the ins and out of the business before I kind of got delved headlong into it. And that company made me sign a non-compete. So there was about 2 years after I had actually left them before I could get started into my own side of it. Now I was doing other things that weren't related to inflatables, that weren't related to those kind of things. I was working in the industry, but not in the particular inflatable side of it. But I always knew what the money was on the inflatable side, and I knew what it was worth, and I now knew how the business worked ins and outs. So it was it was that was the trajectory that I was on. So I picked up a few units, and my first unit, and I know I've told you guys this before, not to buy used units. And in this day and age, I would not. But when I first started, the first unit that I bought from a guy off of eBay. It was a Stars and Stripes bounce house. I think I paid the guy $400 and rolled the dice. I met him at Atlanta airport. He was a truck driver, and he had it on the back of his rig, and he was coming through, and apparently he was dropping something there at the Atlanta airport, and so I met him there and picked it up from him, and it's totally sketchy. Something that you would never in a million years do now, today. Meeting a stranger in a strange place with an unseen product for a, disclosed amount of money, yada, yada, yada. Anyway, got it home, and it was heavily used. It was worn. But it was in good shape. It inflated well, and it had a unique style to it, something that wasn't out there. And luckily, the events came around that it would be popular for the Memorial Day, Veterans Day, 4th of July. So it did really well. And in fact, I look back and that piece made several thousands of dollars over the few years that I had it. And it's one of those things when you, and this is something you all need to remember, keep this in mind. And I've told you guys in the past, it's not about what you like, it's what about the customer likes. But your first unit, if you fall in love with your first unit, it's going to be the one. It's going to be the one that you always kind of default to. It's going to be the one that you always been the best unit. As always, just you're going to set everything else is going to be compared to that unit. And it was with this unit. It was a very well made unit, and again had a very unique design. And it lasted me, a lot of years and made a lot of money on a little bit of investment. So, you go through the challenge of getting beyond the fact that things change and things are better and the whole 9 yards, and you come to the grips that maybe that wasn't the best unit in the world. They don't make the unit anymore. They don't even come close to anything that looks like it. But maybe I'm going to invest in the near future and have a custom build from somebody if I can, because I really, really like that unit. And again, probably the crush that I had on it that is talking, but we enjoyed the unit and it made good money in the whole 9 yards. there, I started investing in units. Every dime that I could invest, I would invest. Now, some people have built their businesses, totally different. The way that I built it is that I went debt free the entire time. In fact, the only time I ever went into debt for any piece of equipment was for my mechanical bull, which that if anybody knows about mechanical bulls, it's really labor intensive. It's really specific. It's really hard to move and to function, and it's not. It's a piece that I would suggest if you were going to have something that was indoors or something that was permanent that and there was an interest for it. Absolutely get that. But as a mobile unit, moving it around and taking it places and doing things with it, not so much. Not impressed with it at all, as far as nothing to do with the quality or anything like that. My mechanical bull is functions great, does the whole 9 yards. It's just the trying to move it around is not conducive for what we're trying to do. Plus, storage is a big issue because there's a lot of pieces and a lot of bulky pieces, so that you're constantly trying to find somewhere to stick things and get it out of the way and move it to. I finally just got a trailer and I store it inside the trailer all the time, which means I have a trailer that never goes anywhere until that goes somewhere. And that's an investment, but it's an expensive piece of equipment, so you got to do what you got to do. But anyway, I never went into debt until that, and have not since. I don't borrow money to buy units. I take money that I have from the units and I budget it until I have enough. And the way that I built my business is that if I have a unit that does over 20 rentals, I start looking at another unit that's comparable so that I can take some of the pressure off that. If I have a unit that's doing under 20 rentals, I start either trying to push it and make it do better, or I start looking to retire it or move it away. So it's just kind of a simple rule of thumb. And the reason you go with 20 is that the first 10 is for your expenses. The next 10 is for the replacement of the unit or the profit of the unit. And you should be rating things at 1/10 the price of the unit. So if a unit is $1,500, it should go out for $150. Anyway, that's a whole other video on how to price your units. So after I started building units, I made some cardinal mistakes. One of it was taking on partners and things like that. And it wasn't a financial situation. It's always been a workload situation where, I really can't afford to do all the work myself, because the time is so precious that you really bring on people. And I always thought that if I ever had an opportunity for somebody to put me into business, I would want to treat them the way that I wanted to be treated. So that's what I tried to do. And the rest of the story. That kind of stuff always bites you. Always bites you in the end. So the company basically grew and split, and then was quartered and started over and grew more. And I learned, to maintain control and keep the things, in house and do certain things. And I don't mess around with bringing on people who take on roles and things like that, because people are people and they're going to do what people do. I'm not pointing fingers, not blaming blame. I'm just saying everybody's always out for their best interest, and that's fine. It's just, you can't have an expectation of somebody they're not going to be you. They're not going to act like you. They're not going to treat people like you, and especially not going to treat you like you want to be treated. So, without sounding jaded, we moved on. I have since, employed people and done subcontracted people and things like that. But I've never gotten to the point where I'm doing some kind of partnership or something like that, because it's just not worth it. And then the rest of the story as far as COVID. We hit things perfectly when it came to COVID, and we grew exponentially, and we continued to grow. So my journey with this started in about 2002, and was slow to grow simply because of, like I said, the way that I was doing things was buying things with cash, with profits instead of trying to finance or anything like that. It was slow to grow, but it was a good slow to grow because I learned all the lessons small, and got beyond that and into the thing. And I learned all the lessons of the business so that I can pass it on to my employees. My employees know how to run a business, and just like everything else, what you run into now is that you find people who are like me, where they come and they work for you for a year or two, and then they try to go out and start their own. They usually don't have the success simply because they attach themselves to the one side of the business or the other side, usually the money side of the business, and not the other side of the business, which is doing things correctly, and making sure that you're on the up and up, especially with people like the tax man and stuff like that. So those kind of things fail, but every once in a while somebody will come along and they'll do it, and they'll do it right, and they succeed. And honestly, to tell you the truth, I just kind of celebrate that, because it's good. It's good to see people succeed. It's good to see people grow. It's good to see the business take hold of somebody's life and allow them to do the things that they want to do, allow them to have the time off, allow them to spend time with their kids, allow them to grow a business with their kids, spend time with their spouse or loved ones, or whatever. And then there's the ugly parts of it. There's lots of downsides to it. We all know it. There's frustration. You're dealing with customers who demand satisfaction, even when it's an impossibility in some states. The whole 9 yards. I don't try to focus on any of that. I try to focus on the fact that it's been really good, and it's got my kids through college and the whole 9 yards. And I retired from the job that I was doing, and did the work. But the really weird thing is that I was doing the job and continuing to do the inflatables at the same time, and just piling in the money because I didn't need the inflatables to support me. I was working full time, and that was to support me. Now I'm retired, and working towards that direction. So anyway, what the future holds is, I've got a fairly decent company that is, in good shape financially, and, tons of experience. I'm going to work on this channel, and I've got some people who are interested in the business. and I'm going to try to run the business as a retired business, meaning taking a less of a portion of the profits of it, and allowing it to grow, but still having it as an ability to draw an income for myself in retirement, and do the small parts of the business that I want to do, like the booking and the things that I can do from wherever, whenever, however, and go from there. So that's it. That's Wild Fladles. That's where it's been, and that's how it's grown. So you guys tell me how you grew. Tell me your story in the comments below. Give us a like, subscribe, and I hope you enjoy these videos. Like I said, I appreciate you guys for being in the business with us, and keep at it.